How can I look in the camera whilst talking to you?
I don't know, it's just weird. Otherwise, I mean, look in the camera, but like look at me at the same time. We built a sound installation that you couldn't hear, unless you worked for it, unless you really listened. We wanted to make something that is quite playful and not too threatening, but also you can see it as something more sinister, because where there's a hole for the bird to come in and out, there's nothing there, it's just a speaker.
These days, all this sort of, spatial audio experiences of being able to export what it's like in the natural world into a museum or gallery. What was really interesting is we were building a playback system, playing back nature inside nature, which is kind of interesting.
We started looking for radios in second-hand shops, and it was really, really difficult to find them. There was just rows and rows of mobile phones and IP cameras. Radios were about patience. You tuned in, you waited. Now it's just swipe, skip, scroll, always visual, always urgent.
So my relationship to radio is quite interesting. My grandfather, James, on my mother's side, went to Burma during World War II, and he was in the Royal Corps Signals. And these poor guys were basically running through the steaming jungles of Burma, supplying radio units to all the British paratroopers. But when I was a kid, I came to the UK and I found his shed full of all his old radio parts and diodes and valves and exotic tools and things. But as a result, it's just a lifelong fascination with radio.
When coming up with the idea, we were thinking about the original book Silent Spring by Rachel Carson, which was a 60s book depicting the use of DDT.
War-born development of DDT. This diabolical weapon of modern science saved millions of humans, but killed billions of insects.
It was an ultimate pesticide that killed off lots of birds in the United States. To develop the concept, we had to do lots of research into the birds that were currently at risk on the Baltic Birds Register of endangered species. We also unfortunately found out, to our great dismay, that since the 80s, over 600 million birds have disappeared from the European Wildlife Register, and over 200,000 tons of insect life. I knew that was big enough for me. Yeah.
I was thinking about a call and a response. It's like the bird makes the sound and then the machine answers. So I would send a bird call in, and like maybe an eagle, and then I would let the voltage modulate the effects, essentially modulate what happens to that call. I like the randomness of it. Sometimes it would come out with a delay, echo, and other times it would sound like a laser beam. There is definitely an element of surprise involved. And I like that tension.
A horse is a horse, of course, and no one can speak to a horse, of course, unless, of course, the horse, of course, is the famous Mr. Ed.
It was great to do something outdoors to make sure you answer the challenge of protecting the installation from the elements, and that includes a lot of insects and the rain and unpredictable conditions. There was a lot of unpredictability involved and a lot of chance and randomness, including the FM interferences, which we actually incorporated into the sound itself. It was interesting because initially I think people had this idea of the sound being very clean and like you would hear from a professional bird recording, and when they heard the FM radio interference, like, oh, is it supposed to be like this? Well, the location was quite important where it was happening because Tartu and the area in Estonia where we were working is only 60 kilometers away from the Russian border, and having that NATO military field hand crank, including a NATO zone plug, was quite an interesting experience on its own. I didn't even know that NATO's got its own plugs. It's a sound installation, but really it's also a silence installation.